What's going on, everybody? Good morning. Welcome back to Beat the Bell. Hope you guys have all had an awesome trading week thus far. It is Friday. It's time to wrap things up. Today's panel, starting with Money Mander. Money Mander, what's going on?
Good morning. It is Friday. Crazy trading week yesterday. We'll get to that in a second.
All right, Diamond Trades.
What's going on? This week has been pretty nuts. Excited to dive into it with the guys. Let's get after it.
All right, straight into Fed forecast and economic calendar.
Yes. So there's nothing on the economic calendar for today. Today's economic news is pretty light, but we do have a lot going on next week. So let's take a look at what we have going on next week. So we've got some economic indicators on Monday with the National Activity Index from the Chicago Fed and composite PMI flash on Monday, Case-Shiller home prices on Tuesday, and then Wednesday is the big day with it'll start off with new home sales, but the FOMC interest rate decision will be out at 2 o'clock for the month of July, and the press conference at 2:30. Powell will come out, give some forward guidance. The market's pricing in essentially like a 99% chance that they raise by 25 bips on Wednesday. So I think the primary focus will be on the forward guidance, if any, that Powell and the rest of the committee gives about the future path of rates. Thursday, we get the GDP print as well as weekly jobs claims. And then on Friday, we have core PCE, a closely watched metric at the Fed, and UMISH, consumer sentiment, as well as inflation expectations. So a pretty busy week, especially towards the latter half of next week, as well as some extensive earnings that we'll get to on Monday. But let's go ahead and dive into this week's trading. Yesterday, the market gave back some of the gains from earlier this week on Tesla's post-earnings drop. The Dow, which has shown relative strength since the start of the quarter, really added about 0.5% for its ninth consecutive green day, its longest green streak since April of 2017. The S&P and the NASDAQ both lagged, dropping 0.7 and 2.1% respectively. That's the largest single-day drop since March 2021 for the NASDAQ, led by Tesla's minus 9.7% and Netflix's minus 8.4% on the back of their earnings that we'll touch on in a little bit. We also saw a meaningful pullback in chip stocks after Taiwan Semi announced weaker than expected sales guidance for the rest of the year. TSM was down 5%, AMD was down 5%, and NVIDIA was down 3.3% yesterday. Let's touch on Netflix briefly. Netflix reported earnings yesterday, and like we talked about, had an 8% drop, even though the numbers were mostly positive, as investors were sort of left wanting more out of that report. Netflix reported an EPS of $3.29 per share, which topped street estimates by about 43 cents a share. Revenue came in at $8.91 billion, which is a slight miss of expectations by about $103 million there. Analyst Michael Nathanson of Nathanson said, I think people expected a lot more revenue growth in the third quarter, plus there was weakness in the average revenue per membership numbers. Netflix's CFO Spencer Newman said on Wednesday during the earnings call that price increases were put on the back burner as the company focused on other revenue drivers, such as their new sharing policy. Most of our this is a quote from him. Most of our revenue growth this year is from growth in volume through new paid memberships, and that's largely driven by our paid sharing rollout, Newman said. It is our primary revenue acceleration this year, and we expect that impact to build over several quarters. Netflix also added 5.9 million subscribers in the second quarter, beating expectations and up drastically from that 1.75 million that they added in Q1. And forecasted third quarter revenue of about $8.5 billion, which would represent a 7% increase on a year-over-year basis. So really not atrocious numbers there from Netflix, but the street sort of threw the baby out with the bathwater yesterday as all of tech took a pullback. Netflix down 8%. Mander, what do you have on Tesla?
You know what? Honestly, kind of a similar story based on the actual numbers we got. The price cuts that everyone was watching going into Q2 here to hurt on margins really didn't hurt their profit growth as much as Wall Street was expecting. EPS came in at 91 cents, 13% higher than expectations, and revenues beat by 700 million. So on paper, you really had a double beat on numbers. But here's why I think shares were down, at least one of the main reasons here. Elon cautioned investors Wednesday in the earnings call that more reductions might be required in the company for price cuts among the vehicles, kind of depending on the macro analysis. The way he quoted it, we just don't control the macro conditions. And if macro conditions are stable, I think prices will be stable. But if they're not stable, we might have to go lower in prices And this is really a name that was priced for perfection going into this earnings call, which I think was more so probably the big picture than an actual big miss on earnings here. It was really just priced for perfection and great forward guidance. And here we can take a look at this growing inventory here. Tesla actually is setting currently new highs in outstanding inventory. So I think to Elon's point, this might be, environmentally, sound for more price cuts. But obviously looking at Tesla, this whole company has been a name of margin. The whole reason it trades at the valuation it ever did is because of its margins compared to the rest of the auto industry. If we look at Mercedes-Benz, they operate at an 11.9% operating margin. They traded a 5.5 multiple. BMW, for example, 10.7% operating margin, trades at a 6.2 multiple. And then you have Tesla reporting numbers right now. They just came out with a 9.6% operating margin and trades at a 93x multiple. So this has been a name that for the longest part traded on the hyper growth and the takeover of the world. Obviously, they're still growing at an exponential rate and probably will be the largest automaker very soon. But it always was a thing on margins. They were able to produce cars more profitably than anyone else ever was. And now they're kind of just getting into that same basket of profitability and operating margins that really the rest of the auto industry is in. So we'll see moving forward. Do investors really get off the bid here, or does this just a non-meaningful pullback where it sets new highs soon? We'll see. Elon did back up the forward guidance on annual growth, said they expect to deliver 1.8 million cars by the end of the year, which is still massive growth, and he kind of doubled down on that at the earnings call. So I don't know. To me, the numbers on the surface weren't so bad. I think this one, off the historic rally in the NASDAQ that a lot of these other names saw, was really just priced for perfection and outstanding forward guidance. And I think investors kind of just got brought back to reality that these names probably were a little overextended to the upside. And we saw that kind of across the rest of the NASDAQ yesterday with some of those names getting risks taken off into earnings next week. When you look at Meta, you look at Google, Amazon, all of them kind of taking a meaningful pullback here as investors are taking some profit and getting risk averse. And then last but not least, long live Twitter. Long live Twitter. Meta just released numbers on Threads after this thing set 24-hour records in signups. You can see, I think it was 50 million signups in the first 24 hours. Now down 70% in daily active users, all the way down to 13 million people from 50 million, and an average use time of just 4 minutes per day compared to Twitter with 200 million daily active users, around 30 minutes per day. So needless to say, over in the Meta headquarters there as well, pressure is definitely on for something with the whole Zuck and Elon beef going on here. Thread's not looking too hot.
Yeah, it's funny because like when it first came out, everybody who loves Twitter was sort of freaking out that everybody was going to leave, and I kind of knew from the jump that it would be, it would kind of suck. But I actually haven't. Did you sign up for Threads? No. Me neither. So I mean, I don't know. I just felt like it was a weak attempt, to be honest. And I saw a funny thing. I saw a picture, and I'll try and get it on. I'll try and get it on Monday. But it was basically like the Twitter UI, the Threads UI, like the MySpace UI, and like all these other ads. And basically, like it's like 6 or 7 clones of literally like the exact same app, where it's like you can like things and repost things, and it's like he literally just copied like from the past 6 people who tried
all the way back to MySpace.
Yeah, so I mean, it is what it is. That'll wrap it up for us here at Fed Forecast. We will pass it back to Alejandro.
I don't know how Threads works, but is it just like the people you follow are like tweeting, right? Like your Instagram following? I think that's why I didn't sign up. Like I really don't care about what like think about who you follow on Twitter, right? It's like like investment professionals, or like you try to find value on your timeline for the most part, unless you go on the For You page, then that's just a different story. But you're trying to find follow people that you can learn from. Like I'm not interested in what like the girls on my Instagram think at 2:00 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. But anyway,
it's a great point.
All right, so we're going to talk about the S&P. Going to share screen here and cover the system quickly. So we did get the sell signal yesterday, and I saw a lot of people talking about it, saying that we got the bearish crossover, the 10 SMA below the 50 SMA. But today is really going to be the real teller. The reason is we came down to the 50 SMA on the 1-hour chart, and we got a bounce. Okay, so that is our major support. We've been saying it, that the market could easily pull back. We could even get to sell signal as we did yesterday, but nothing is bearish until we break below that 50 SMA on the 1 hour. So far this morning, we are bouncing in the pre-market. And bulls are going to want to reclaim the area that we sold off from yesterday. Okay, so if we can reclaim that area, that's going to resume the uptrend. And so although we did break below the 50 and we got the sell signal on the 30-minute, I wouldn't be so quick to say that we are going to continue to sell off until we break below the 50 SMA on the 1 hour, because that is, of course, the stronger level and what we're really watching for here. So keep that in mind going into today. And also keeping in mind that it's, totally likely and, it's possible and totally likely that we do see some choppier action after we've gotten this massive, massive rally where basically all you had to do was buy and hold for like 150 points. Okay, so fortunately, trading isn't that easy. And so things are going to start to get a little bit choppier, but take it one day at a time. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the system. I'm going to pass it over to Stock Snipa now for Bet the Bell.
Good morning. It's time for the best part of the show, guys. I'm not sure if we're going to start it off with the stats for the green and red. Let's see it. Yes, so Diamond is currently leading, 47 wins, 63%. Hondo has 48 wins. I just put myself on the bottom just to be modest, as typical, guys. I'm sure everybody knows that. But I'm going to go ahead and start it off with the normal question for every day. Green or red on the day? Diamond, what you got?
I'll go red.
Red?
Yeah.
Awesome. Mander, what you got?
S&P up about 0.5% here into the open, but I'm going to have to fade that and also take red after yesterday's action.
I like that. Hondo, what you got?
I'm going to go green.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to have to be devil's advocate here and take red. Next question I got for you guys is Microsoft. When I'm taking a look at Microsoft, we can see we're sitting just about at $350. My question is today, do you think Microsoft will close over or under 352.5? I'm going to have to start this one off with Diamond again.
What's the number? What's the line?
352.5 is the over under. Microsoft is currently about 350.
Under.
Under? Mander, what you got?
I'm looking at the daily right here. It's actually sitting dead at demand at yesterday's low. I'll hedge my bet here, and I'll say the over on Microsoft. Worth noting, though, I saw today we have the highest outstanding option volume for a July expiry in history. I think it's somewhere around like $2.9 trillion, I believe, going into expiration today. So expect some wild price action as all those get unrolled.
Okay. Hondo, what you got?
I'm going over, brother.
Okay. Yeah, so like when I'm taking a look at it, I'm gonna have to take the over just because like it's really close. Microsoft does look like it has the buyers there. On the other hand, I'm hedging my bet because I'm picking red on the day. So I don't think I'm gonna be wrong twice. But for my third question, I want to ask you guys, would you guys rather have $1 million in NVIDIA or $750,000 in AMD? I'm going to have to start this off with Diamond.
Ryan's a funny guy, man. I'll go with $1 million in NVIDIA or $1 million in NVIDIA. What kind of question is this? Nice. $1 million in NVIDIA.
I just realized I meant 1 million in AMD or 750.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. I'll go if it was switched, I would still go, I think 750 in NVIDIA.
And 750 in NVIDIA.
Yeah.
Remember what you got? 750 in NVIDIA or 1 million in AMD?
I'm going to take NVIDIA too, but I don't think this is as crazy a question as Diamond's making out here. When you have NVIDIA sitting at all-time highs and AMD still.
It was switched though. It was $1 million in NVIDIA or 750 in AMD.
And I meant to say 1 million in AMD.
Okay, yeah, I get that. That's why I responded that way to your
No,
first.
but I'm saying I think even say it's a million both. I think there could be a case for AMD here still sitting 50 points off of all-time highs. But I'm of the mindset where I'm gonna long the strength in the semi sector, so I'm gonna take NVIDIA.
Okay. Yeah, but you're saying there is a lot more room there on AMD. Pretty much what your previous statement is saying.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's flagging. It actually looks pretty decent on a weekly chart here. I mean, you're immediately up 50% to all-time highs.
I see. So, Hondo, what you got?
I'm gonna go with AMD. I was actually looking at AMD yesterday, like considering buying some. It's just kind of sitting there, as Mander mentioned, relative to what Nvidia's already done. And I know nothing's gonna necessarily replicate that move. What we've seen in Nvidia is insane, but AMD I still feel has a ton of upside. Kind of reminds me of Google that we've been talking a lot about. I feel Google should be trading a lot higher, but just hasn't been able to get it done. And I think the most important thing here that we haven't talked about in this question is the time horizon. I don't know whether you're trading it, 6 months, a year, 5+ years. If I was able to park my money in AMD for 5+ years, I would definitely take that.
I see. Anytime I ask, would you rather have $1 million or whatever? It's always 1 year.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah. So now I got an interesting question, and this is via Diamond actually. But
You want me to ask it? I'll do it.
yeah, go for it.
All right. So yesterday on the earnings call, Elon, among other things, he did Mander touched on. He was talking about the price cuts. He was talking about a bunch of things in terms of like forward guidance and where they're looking in terms of what their sort of strategy is in terms of the price cuts and how they're going to use that to further the company in the future, further benefit the company in the future. And he made a lot of comments on the stock price itself. He said, I can't control fluctuations in the short term. It's nearly impossible. But he gave some investing advice from like Ben Graham. He was like, you want to find companies that make really good products and, just buy and hold them. And, he kept talking about how he believes that they can deliver 10x value in terms of the stock price, over the long term. And I just wanted to ask, how do you guys feel about a CEO actively talking about the stock price in that fashion? It's just like, it's something that's a bit unusual. I don't want to call it like strange because it has happened before, but as a Tesla investor, does that make you guys more or less confident about the short-term and the long-term future of the stock price in particular?
I think it's kind of like taboo, right? Like the CEOs aren't necessarily supposed to be talking about the price of the stock. Like you're not supposed to care. I remember, I think there was an issue with the Shopify CEO talking about the price of the stock back in the day, and everybody was like, "Why is this guy so focused on the price of the stock?" But I think Elon's approach here makes a lot of sense, and I think it's just kind of common sense knowledge. And I've been talking about this. I own Tesla, and I told myself this year my mentality would be I'm not going to focus on the price of the stock. The reason being, we've talked about it, right? We can expect, or we've expected these auto companies to struggle this year with rising interest rates, especially Tesla in particular. If you don't have the stomach for volatility, probably not a stock that you should be invested in. I mean, it moves like crazy. But the most important point that he made is when it comes to investing, you want to be buying companies that are making products that you believe in, a company that you believe in, and then you're just holding it, right? You're not coming in every day freaking out. As a matter of fact, I actually bought some Tesla yesterday. It wasn't much of like so I try to like dollar cost average into my long-term positions. And for me, when I see the stock is down 8%, I was like, okay, this is a nice little opportunity to buy. It's really that simple. And I try not to let the actual price get to me that much. And things are just going to take care of themselves over time if the company delivers. That's all that matters. It's the only thing that should be of any concern.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in next year. But yeah, I kind of like that. So first off, the first part of Elon's comment is about not being able to control the short term. I totally agree with that. That's completely out of his control how it is traded. Obviously, he does have some kind of control over the performance of the revenue and profit of the quarters, but that's kind of irrelevant. Elon is basically trying to say, if you want to trade Tesla, I don't care about you. I want long-term investors. And his statement is trying to attract people who are long-term investors. He wants people holding Tesla stock for multiple years. He doesn't want people holding it for a couple hours because that doesn't really do anything for him. So yeah, that's totally why I think he made some of these comments that he made. And I'm a huge advocate of buying companies that you love or companies that you spend money in. So for instance, if you're buying Starbucks every single day, buy some Starbucks stock. If you're eating McDonald's every day, I mean, I pray for you, but buy McDonald's stock. If you're wherever you're spending your money, buy some stock, invest in it, and you see the cash flow of like what goes on when you're there buying all this stuff. And that's just one thing that a financial advisor told me probably like 10, 15 years. No, not that long ago. Probably about 5 to 10 years ago. And shit, I've
You're
stuck by
10
it.
years old.
No, but when I was like probably about 5 years ago. But like I've stuck by that and it's worked out pretty well for me. So yes, buy companies that you love, buy companies that you spend money in.
All right, I'm going to speak directly to Elon speaking about the stock price, which I think the question was really focused at there. I think it is rather taboo, but Elon gets an absolute pass in this one from my book here because obviously I think everyone knows like CEOs and the board members are talking stock price in their meetings. They just usually don't voice that then in the earnings call. They're more so trying to, move that with guidance. Like they want to try and move the stock price without actually talking about stock price. Elon absolutely gets a pass on this one though, because I think really half the reason Tesla trades how it does and where it does is because of Elon. It's because of that kind of culture he brought around the stock. It's that following he has on Twitter, going even all the way back to the Dogecoin thing, right? He just gets people fired up about the things he's a part of. And I think he kind of brought this new, say our generation of investors into Tesla stock. Maybe it's not geared towards the 60-year-old boomer that's about to retire, but he's brought a lot of energy to the stock. And I think that's a big part of it is him, kind of voicing stuff like that, right? Like talking about the stock price, squeezing the moon, the rockets, the whole thing he does. I think he gets an absolute pass here on this one.
Yeah,
He's a straight shooter for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. He always has been. I think, I don't know. It was just a question that I saw raised yesterday as probably by like a disgruntled Tesla investor as the stock was down 8%. So that's all. But yeah, that's why I brought it up.
I saw a lot of Evan at Stock Market News was like tweet your reaction to the earnings call in one word, and it was everyone like Elon stop talking with like no spaces in it.
Yeah. All right, that's it. That's it for me. Thanks, Snipes, for letting me be a part of that.
Of course, man. That'll wrap it up for Bet the Bell today. I'm going to pass it back to Hondo here.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week on Beat the Bell. Appreciate you guys that have been tuning in all week. The support is awesome. You guys know that. We appreciate you guys a ton. Okay. So we'll be trading live all day in the King Cap Discord per usual. Old Sarge, you're the man. Pixel Monkey as well. Also the man or a woman. We'll be trading live all day in the King Cap Discord. And go to king-capital.com or scan the QR code on the screen. Other than that, guys, it's been a fun week. And we'll see you guys back here on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Have a phenomenal weekend, everybody.